Hello?
Hey Steve, this is Renee. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man.
Cool, cool.
Not as great as y'all are going to be. Vocalists for Within the Ruins. Y'all have a new album coming out, The Blackheart, this November. It's got to be exciting times for you.
Very much so, man. Especially it being my first album with the band. I'm pretty stoked about it. Little nervous, not gonna lie, but excited though. Yeah. Overall, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Now, how did you end up hooking up with the band?
So our bassist Paolo and I were actually in a band together before this called Silence the Messenger for almost 10 years. And we kind of met Within the Ruins back in around 2009 or so. They were just kind of coming off the Creature album and touring a lot. And so our bands kind of met back then and started playing shows together. And anytime they would roll through Texas or anything like that, we would hang out or hop on the show with them, and kind of just became good friends since then. And then 2015 or 16, they asked Paolo to fill in on a All-Stars tour, not playing guitar but playing bass. And so he did it, and then ended up joining the band. And then our old one kind of just fell apart, so I was sitting around for a little while. And then like halfway through a big U.S. headliner that the band was doing, Tim had to get sent home with some medical issues, and I filled in for the rest of that tour. And then after that, they were basically just kind of ready to make the switch. And after giving it some thought, I was like, yeah, I need to do this. So I hopped on board, and a couple years later, here we are.
Yeah, very cool. And you did mention Texas, and I was looking at your phone number, and it makes sense. I'm for Texas too. I'm actually in Corpus.
Yeah, I saw that pop up too. Me and Paolo are out here in San Antonio, and then Joe and drummer are out in Westfield, Massachusetts. Yeah. So we're kind of split down the middle.
Yeah. No, so did that make it a little bit difficult when y'all came down to writing, since y'all are from different areas?
No, not really. Joe owns his own studio out there, and so he did all of the writing in the studio. He'll just track out the guitars and put songs together, program some drums, so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on. And he'll just, once it's more or less completed, he'll put it in a Dropbox. Excuse me. He'll put it in the Dropbox, and then Paolo and I can just kind of jam it like on our phones or on the computer if we want to. And then we'll kind of schedule a time for the two of us to fly out there and record maybe 2 or 3 of them within like a week's span. So once it's in the Dropbox, I'll kind of sit down, like one song at a time, and kind of just hammer it out. Like I'll play it through a little Bluetooth speaker and just write out the song on a piece of paper, just listening to it over and over. Yeah. And then we go out there and we hammer them out in the studio. We probably did that like 4 or 5 times, I think, at least over the past year and a half or so, 2 years almost, I think. So it was that was kind of what took a little while with it, because it's a lot, some traveling involved in planning. But as far as difficulty though, no, not really. It was actually a very smooth process, and it's not like old school days where you'd all get together in a garage and like hammer out songs and stuff. It's very easily done with the technology available these days. So it wasn't that hard.
Yeah, it's almost too easy, it seems sometimes.
Yeah, I know. In a way it is, yeah.
Yeah, before you had to record the whole thing, and if you made a mistake, you had to start over again.
Yeah, you only have so many tracks available. Like, you had to nail like giant takes, and you only got so many of them. And now it's like, let's do it again. You could do something 20, 30 times if needed to. But at that point, I guess if you're doing it 20, 30 times, maybe you should try something else. But but you can if you need to. The technology's there, so might as well make use of it. And the guys definitely do. None of us are held back and set in our ways. Anytime there's new technology available, we're definitely about giving it a shot and seeing what else is out there. So it's good.
Yeah, you gotta evolve. Now, you mentioned about your writing. Do you normally get inspiration from when you're listening to the track of what'll fit, and then bring in stuff from your experiences, or did you kind of have free reign to be able to write whatever you wanted on this album?
Yeah, no, I was actually really grateful to Joe and the guys that were all just like, hey, just write what you want. And I came in with a lot of like personal experiences that have happened over the past few years that I really needed to get off my chest. And I kind of just will listen to a song and figure out which lyrics I have kind of fit the vibe of the song the best. I've got a whole notes section in my phone that I just, anytime I have an idea or a thought, I'll just type it out in my phone so I don't lose it, and then I'll expand on it when I need to. So I keep that whole section of the lyrics on me at all times so I can constantly be having ideas if I need them. And so I'll kind of just pick a song that I'm going to work with and figure out which set of lyrics or which theme I think fits that vibe of the song, and I'll kind of just lay them out. But like I said, it was a lot of personal experience, a lot of just unfortunate negativity over the past few years that I really had to talk about. And once Joe kind of figured out where I was coming from lyrically, he was getting a vibe of what the rest of the song should sound like. And it all kind of worked out really well because behind the scenes, you know, the band was having some issues with a few things, and people just were kind of angry and upset about some stuff, about the way things were going, and me being mad about my own shit kind of worked out well. So it kind of, this album's definitely a lot darker in terms of instruments. Like Joe really put some heavier, meaner stuff in there, and then lyrically I came from a darker spot as well, so it all kind of came together perfectly, I think. So I was glad to have been given free reign to kind of do what I want. And I know not every band is like that. Sometimes like a guitarist is still the main writer for the vocals and all that. But
Right.
luckily Joe kind of let me do my thing.
Well, that's nice. Now, I guess that kind of fits in the theme, or of the title Blackheart. Is that where the consensus was coming from?
Yeah, pretty much. I knew I wanted to name one song specifically that, but most of the anger and not depression necessarily, but like sadness, I suppose, kind of a lot of the songs stem from that particular song. They're like follow-ups or they're related issues, that kind of thing, except for maybe one or two. So then after they were all done and we're thinking about album titles, we're like, if everything's kind of stemming from this one, let's just call the album Blackheart. And, and it kind of works as like a sort of a metaphor, I guess, too, where like, the heart is a relatively important organ, and a lot of stuff comes from there. And we're like, well, if stuff's coming from out of this one song, let's just use that as a focal point, and then work out now.
Yeah. Now, one of the difficult thing, especially since I guess somewhat, you've been with the band since, 2018, but you're still, like you mentioned, somewhat new. How is it how have the fans been? How do you think that you're going to be able to, I don't know, how do you receive a warm welcome for an established band, like within the Ruins? How do you think you're going to overcome that?
Yeah, I think with time, it's just kind of one of those things where, Tim has just kind of been the voice of the band for over a decade, and people are just used to hearing that. I kind of leave it up to the fans and stuff to determine who they like more, but I think it's just people fear change, I think, or they're uncomfortable with it sometimes, and they're just, when they're not used to something, then it's hard to jump on board right away. So I think just given time, it'll be like, okay, this is just what the band is now, and now it's Steve and not Tim, and that just kind of is what it is. And I still see some of the comments and messages like, wait, where's Tim? I'm like, and I mean, I try not to be a dick about it, but I'm like,
Right.
it's been like 2 years. Come on. So I think just given time, especially once the album's out, and there's a few music videos floating around, then it'll be pretty much good to go. But overall, the response has been really, really positive. I mean, you're going to have some diehards that are just like, Tim forever, and that's fine. I get it, but, and Tim's my friend, so I'm not by any means saying anything negative about him. It's just there are fans that are going to be like that, and that's okay. You kind of expect it.
Yeah.
But overall, the response has been overwhelmingly positive, and I'm super grateful. And that's probably why I say I'm a little nervous about the release, but overall stoked. I'm really excited about it, and people are really seeming to dig the tracks that are out right now, and I'm sure they'll feel the same about the album as well.
Yeah. Well, it's a kick-ass album, and I've heard it. But you're right when you go back to, it's always rough to where releasing a new album, you'll have these few fans who'll be like, "What the hell? What direction are they going in now? Bullshit!" And
Always, yeah.
that's just gotta be like, come on, guys! Like we have to. I mean, you change as individuals, so you're going to grow. It's just a natural progression. But
Yeah,
just
it is, man, and it's really, I hate to say it, but it's kind of a lose lose, and it's if you stick to the same sound, people are going to say you're not changing and you're not evolving, you're not getting better. It's just then they get bored, or if you do start to change, then they're like, play the old shit, and like, oh, I hate this new stuff, and blah blah blah. You can't win, you know. So it's usually we kind of just figured it's best to just do it how we want, do some elements of both. Like we're all going to be growing as musicians and learning new things, trying new stuff, and experimenting. I mean, you're an artist. That's what you do. You experiment, you try stuff, you know, but still keep elements of kind of the old sound. And I think the band has done a really good job of keeping that the entire time, but still evolving in its own way. And so we tried to do a bit of a, like, let's keep the old stuff, but still experiment with some new things. And we definitely tried some new stuff on this, and it was a lot of fun to create this.
yeah, talking to other musicians, that seems to be, or at least helping with their longevity is, writing for themselves. Because
Yeah.
if you're happy with it, because I mean you're the one that has to perform it once you're on tour, and so if as long as you're happy with it, it seems the general, the overall goal, where what ends up happening is the fans are happy with it too.
Yeah, especially if they can see that you're happy with it and that you're into it, then it kind of makes them inadvertently kind of feel the same way. If they see that you're very into what you've created and you feel very attached to it and proud of it, then that'll come across and people get that.
Yeah, for sure. Now, other than vocals, did you contribute in any other way to the writing for this album?
No, not really, other than maybe like some thoughts on little sections in the studio. I mean, Joe's a creative monster. I mean, he's just got ideas out the wazoo,
Yeah.
So I mean, anything instrumentally, like I know how to play guitar, but not nearly as good as Joe or Paolo. And so I mean, I can give my thoughts and stuff, but really most of my job was just to get the lyrics and patterns down and record them. But I mean, it's all like the little fun stuff when you're in the studio, like, oh, let's put like a little gap here, or let's, like the little bells and whistles. Like we kind of all have our input on that stuff, but mostly everything else besides the lyrics, and it's pretty much Joe besides little things.
Yeah. Now, for yourself, writing lyrically, do you ever find it a little bit difficult not to repeat yourself, as in certain topics or concepts or anything like that, or you just kind of, you've already gotten used to, because you were in a band before, you've gotten used to how you write and you're comfortable able to express yourself that way?
Yeah, I really, I guess if you look back at like Old Silence and Messenger songs, I'm still proud of a lot of those, and a lot of them do kind of come from a similar place. But I tend to write stuff. It's just what comes naturally to me, unless I have like a really cool concept idea for a song. There's a couple of those actually on the album that I thought were really cool. Like there's this one track that might come out down the road as like an extra track, or like on a like an overseas release or something. But it was like the idea of like a programmer sitting at a computer, and like he's running a simulation, and kind of starts to think of himself as God, and then he gets cockier as the song progresses, and he gets really involved in himself. It was just kind of this like vague idea for like a miniature story that I had, and I was like, this would make a really cool song, and I think the vibe would fit within the Ruin song, and we recorded it. It turned out really cool. It just didn't completely fit everything else that was on the album. Pretty much every song is, except for like I said, one or two, pretty much all in the same vein, all kind of angry or pissed off, what have you. And I just tend to write more things that are personal and that I feel like can connect with people and that they can identify with, because that's kind of where I came from when I was growing up as a teenager. Like my brain was a sponge, just taking in all kinds of music, and especially like nu metal. I'm a giant nu metal kid, and so I would always I don't know why. I was just something really attracted to me to the aggression and like raw emotion that nu metal vocalists would put into those songs. And I just always grasped onto that. And I liked the feeling of, you know, hey, I'm angry sometimes too. And I identified with that. So as I turned into a songwriter, not just a listener, I wanted to kind of, my initial instinct is to give that back, is to, there's somebody else out there that's probably going through something similar, and they can use this to kind of help get them through. And that's just where my head usually goes, is writing stuff that people can latch onto and say, hey, I feel this way too.
Yeah.
So that's usually where my head's at.
Yeah. Now you talked that you're a nu metal kid. So who would you say was at the time when being influenced by was the biggest nu metal band for you? Like you were just totally consumed with.
Man, if I have to pick one, it's Slipknot. That's my like all-time favorite. I think Corey Taylor's a great frontman, vocalist, lyricist. I always loved everything he did. Was it the first one? No, I think the first thing I ever caught was I was at some like sleepover in elementary school, and the video for "Freak on a Leash" by Korn was on MTV, and I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah,
and it kind of blew my mind. And from there, it turned into like, okay, Jonathan Davis is cool. Turned into Linkin Park and Disturbed, and you know all the big bands, and then you kind of dive a little deeper and you find other bands and stuff. But if I had to pick one, I'd say probably Slipknot, just because they're my favorite.
Yeah, I remember seeing Korn. I guess I don't know how they got on this tour with Megadeth, but I saw them open for Megadeth, and I was like, Korn, who the hell is this band? I had never heard them before. You know, and the first time it come out, I was like, holy shit, man. I was just completely blown away.
Yeah. Like,
everything.
How long ago would you say that was? You know?
Oh,
do you remember more or less?
It was their first album release. You know?
The self-titled? Like back in the day?
Yeah, but Blind was the first song that they opened up with. I was like, holy shit. I mean,
man, that was changing the game back then. Like nobody had done stuff like what Korn was doing and what Deftones did, and it was just super new. And everybody kind of was used to bands like Megadeth, and like that's what metal is. And then that term "nu metal," like this is what the new metal is, you know, got coined, and it just changed the game. And like people can shit on nu metal for the trends or some of the stuff that looks corny by today's standards, but man, nu metal changed the game, dude. I'll talk all day about it. You know. Those guys had something special, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And like you mentioned, Slipknot. I mean, it's mind-boggling to where the type of music that they play and how they've been able to become so successful and doing whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, it's insane, man. Guys in jumpsuits and masks filling up stadiums now. It's insane. Yeah. You know, but it worked. I mean, and like obviously, I don't think the band would be what it is necessarily without the not, you know, gimmick, whatever you want to call it, without that image.
Yeah.
But the songs can kind of speak for themselves though. The songs are awesome.
Yeah.
Just, you know, bringing that theatricality to it is just awesome. It's one of my favorite live shows is seeing Slipknot. They still bring it, man.
Oh, and yeah, for sure.
I'm happy to keep that band around as long as they're willing to.
I know, right?
Yeah. For sure.
Well, we got to keep Within the Ruins going around as long as possible, too, though.
I agree. I hope so. I mean, in between Silence the Messenger and Within the Ruins, like I was just kind of sitting around for a couple of years, and the idea of, you know, maybe my time had passed, and you know, I made some headway with STM. Like we did some cool stuff. We got signed, had some cool tours. You know, put out a couple albums, and you know, I was kind of becoming comfortable with the idea that maybe I was done, and that's why I was a little hesitant to initially accept the invitation to hop on board. But looking back on it now, I would have completely made a horrible decision, and I'm glad that I did it now. So now it's like the beginning of this whole new chapter. The band feels revitalized and refreshed and getting to try new stuff. And it's just a whole new door has been opened now, it feels like. So, I mean, we've even talked about, like, you know, we're in our early to mid 30s, so we're not old, but we're not, you know, spring chickens anymore. So, but we do all have a giant passion for this, and we're all very kind of like I said, revitalized now. It's like a jump start, and so we're kind of ready to see where the band goes from here. And we're very much don't plan on stopping anytime soon. You know, just because, like, you know, we're not going to do 5-6 tours a year where we're gone like 4 or 5 weeks at a time. Like, we're not going to do any of that, but we'll still be busy and hopefully and stay as relevant as long as we can. We don't plan on going anywhere, that's for sure.
Right. Well, it's a good thing you said yes, because more than likely 10 years down the line you would have been kicking yourself in the ass for saying no.
Dude, absolutely. Honestly, I probably would be now if I didn't take the gig. And part of it was because of my situation at the time. I thought I was going to be at a certain job at the time, and I thought I was going to be with a certain person at the time, and none of that's even a thing anymore.
Yeah.
And it's all kind of part of why the album sounds the way that it does. But that's kind of why I say I would have turned it down for the totally wrong reasons, and I'm glad that I thought that through a little bit more and took it. So
yeah,
I'd be kicking myself now, let alone down the road when I'm just, what do I have to show for it?
Right. Well, good. I'm glad you made the right decision, and fans will be glad that you did too, because like you're saying, musicians just have this powerful connection with fans to where y'all actually help a lot of people during their downtime when they're feeling bad. I mean, it as a music fan too. It's like this music is just, it helps you get through your rough patches.
It does, dude. It really does. And I think a lot of people feel that way, even if you aren't an actual musician. Like, listening to stuff kind of helps you. Some people just won't get it, but like, if you're sad, sometimes listening to a sad song helps in a way, because you're identifying with somebody who's feeling similar, and it makes you not feel alone. And, things like that, where people grasp onto it and it means something to them. And as much as, I'm on this side of the fence, being the guy that's on stage versus the guy looking at it, I'm still very much a fan of music. I'm really proud and honored to be a part of the creative side of this genre and music scene. But I'm very much still a fan at the same time. Like, I'm constantly looking for new bands and like trying to hear new stuff and see what's current. I just love music, man. So as much as I love creating it, I still love listening to it. So I'm all about trying to find new bands wherever I can, and then I'm constantly excited about new stuff and hearing new things, and I'm never bored. And I don't know. I think it's just the way my brain works. I love creating it, but I'm still very much a fan, even though I'm the performing side.
Right. Yeah, it keeps you going. So, one of these new things that a lot of bands have been doing, and maybe there's possibility of Within the Rooms doing it, maybe a live stream once it gets closer to release date.
Yeah, we've tossed around the idea. I mean, because obviously nobody's touring right now or playing shows unless you're fucking Trapped or Smash Mouth, and
who's going to those things?
No disrespect to Smash Mouth, I love All Star, but
right.
Playing shows is just not a good idea right now.
Right.
So the live stream thing, the idea is being kicked around, and we're just trying to figure out some details, especially as far as just flying Paolo and I out, which is not a problem. It's just more of a scheduling thing. So we're working on that. Definitely a possibility. That's just kind of the only option for bands to sort of like play a show in a sense, but also give something to the fans for them to enjoy. Especially now with having an album out, like, we're going to want to play some of these songs and not just let them sit, so it's definitely a possibility. I think it's just more of a matter of when. I don't have a ton of info on it, but the idea is getting kicked around for sure.
Very cool. So, of course, we always want to be able to support the music. I've seen a whole bunch of different types of bundles that you can get for Within the Ruins. Other than those bundles, is there anything else that y'all might have coming out? There's fans that love signed stuff, sign my album, sign this and sign that. Is there any possibilities for that, or anything else coming out?
Yeah, right now, there's all the bundles. There's so much stuff to choose from on there. I've actually pre-ordered it myself. I bought the mega bundle. I don't know if you've taken a look at that one, but it's like one of everything. It's like the flag, the hoodie, the t-shirt, vinyl, CD. It's everything. And I was like, I just want all this stuff. So I just fucking bought it. There's plenty of stuff to pre-order. There's also a contest running right now where you can get a signed test pressing of the album. That you just kind of have to enter to win. We post about it fairly regularly, so you can find the link for it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or what have you. And there's also the I don't know if you've seen it, but Joe owns his own brewery out in Massachusetts, so we're like, you have to make a beer for the album. So he ended up making a New England IPA and calling it Deliverance. And so we came out with a pre-order bundle for that. I mean, the only catch is that you have to obviously be 21 and you have to pick it up at the brewery, you know, because you can't just ship beer to whoever you want to. There's not really a way to control that. But so it is a bit of a downside. But hey, if you wanted to order it from, you know, California or Texas and then drive out there and pick it up, you're more than welcome to. It's the only stipulation really is all. But so there's that, and then who knows about other. I'm sure there's going to be contests for stuff and other giveaways, you know, after the fact. Maybe attach some stuff to merch available for the live shows and things like that. But I'm sure there's going to be some stuff coming down the pipe.
Yeah, very cool. Well, kind of almost concluding our conversation here, is there anything else that you would like to promote for the band, or any parting words for fans, what to look out for, other than what we've talked about already?
There's just going to be one more music video coming out the day of the album. Keep an eye out for that. If you can, during this shitty pandemic, and I know the nation's in a state of distress right now, but if you can pre-order the album, it definitely helps. I mean, you've heard the spiel from bands over and over, but, you know, grabbing it helps. If not, you know, stream it wherever you can. And, yeah, man, just listen to it and enjoy. You know, I'm really excited to hear what all the fans think about the new guy, you know. So listen to it, enjoy it. Let us know what you think. November 27th, Blackheart.
Hell yeah. Well, Steve, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. And I wish you the best on the release day. And congratulations for being, you know, the new vocalist for Within the Ruins, man.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
You too. You take care.
You too, bud.
Bye.